Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. And, of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Woo! Training camp is picking up, y'all. Pads came on. They got the squabbling out there. They got the squabbling. It's the first day of pad week. We are going to review how that went down from top to bottom. We'll also probably dive into some practice notes across the interwebs. Plus, we got a special guest calling in later today. Another Cowboys beat reporter now who will be joining us talking about the Dallas Cowboys training camp, what they saw down there, what they're thinking, how their offseason's going. So, again, like I said, we're pretty much jam-packed from Monday to possibly Friday of guests that would be joining the Cowboys to be talking about training camp and other things. I have another special one coming up tomorrow. And then on Friday, it will be kind of a different take with our guests. So jam-packed, y'all. Y'all need to stay tuned, stay locked, keep it locked here. And if you are, that means you're part of the Bomb Squad, man.
Bomb Squad!
Yes, indeedy.
Now that we've said hello, let's get down to business.
Let's get down to business, Cowboys Nation. A lot went down yesterday at training camp. The offense, as you can see in the chat here, caught some fire. They're catching some fire, right? But at the same time, Micah Parsons was dominating some dudes, specifically our guy, Tyron Smith, who gave him a nice little hump club move. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. And defensive line started to get some momentum, but the offense is finding its way pretty early in camp, which usually over the last few years, it's took some time for the offense to get going. So I'm excited about that. And we'll get a kicking update here in the roundup. We'll also get a injury update. And, of course, we have to shift our focus to that running back room, which we're going to do at this very moment once we get out of that roundup. So let's head into the roundup, get out, and get down to business.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time!
It's time.
It is time for.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Let me talk to you.
Woo! Fired up today, man. I'm fired up. Let me talk to you for a quick second here. We finally got an update on these kickers. So what was going on apparently over the first week is that they've been doing the kicking situation kind of behind the scenes. I remember when I had to pass last year, I went down for the media day and I had to get down there earlier. And I noticed the kickers were out there before anyone. Nobody was out there but the kickers doing things. I wonder if that was the case leading up to pad week. They wanted to wait to kind of get these guys kicking in public. But now the competition has taken public stage and we got some kicking updates, some kicking statistics. So here's what happened in kind of just the kickoff that they were doing prior to the Mojo Moments and the team moments. Brandon Aubrey and Tristan Vizcaino exchanged their first turn-based field goals in kicking competition. This comes from, I believe, Michael Gelkin. 7 attempts each, both made 5. Vizcaino missed from wide left and then very wide left from 45. Aubrey missed wide left from 43 and 45. So 5 for 7, couple misses, Then the Mojo Moments came. And if you're not familiar with the Mojo Moments, it's a very fun thing to kind of watch in person. Just randomly out of nowhere. They'll blow the whistle, they'll get on the speaker. Mojo Moment, right? And then everybody gets to their spot. And this year, the Mojo Moment, or yesterday, the Mojo Moment was about the kickers. The kickers would kick from 38, 44, and 48 yards, and they made them all. Each kicker had 3 apiece, and they all made every kick. Now, I'd imagine they're going to push this back a little bit further today and keep going, because one thing I know about Bones Fossil is that he likes to have a guy that has a strong leg. So I think they want to see how strong these guys' legs are. If not, we could be looking to bring someone else in. So we'll keep our eyes out on that. But 3 for 3 in the Mojo Moments. So far, so good. Not so good news. Bit of an injury update. Yesterday, Sam Williams left practice early, and this is what happened. He was speaking to head athletic trainer Jim Maurer, and then he just walked off with the director of team security, Cable Johnson, that comes from Gelkin as well. But then it came out that it was a shoulder injury that kept him out. And the severity at this moment is not known. However, there is some optimism. So we'll hear something today when Mike McCarthy speaks. If there's a presser today, he'll give us an update. But as we saw yesterday, he doesn't really have to tell us everything at the presser. And he did that to the Cowboys media yesterday. However, this is an injury update to one of your better players, one of your better young players. So it'd be nice to know if he's going to be all right moving forward. If it's a minor strain, possibly a week or so. If it's a mild strain, you may be looking, multiple weeks. If it's a severe strain, you're looking at months. So we're hoping for something minor. One thing that, to me at least, it feels like McCarthy has done a good job with over the years is kind of monitoring these injuries and getting the Cowboys through the season, the off season, as healthy as possible, given, some freak incident, right? Like you can't, when Tyron pulled his bone off his muscle off his bone, you couldn't do nothing about that. But they've done a good job monitoring these guys. Dorrance Armstrong, another guy who did not practice, had a hamstring issue. It is deemed not serious, but again, something to monitor. These hamstrings, these calves, these things are going to pop up, at the beginning of training camp, given the 3 to 4 week time frame they were off. We don't know what these guys were doing beforehand. Even if they were, working out and whatnot, it's just different when you're out here doing these football things. So, in team drills and whatnot. So Sam Williams suffered a shoulder injury. We'll keep an eye on that. Dorrance Armstrong was out. Trayvon Diggs remains to do limited things with the toe. He's doing one-on-ones, but when they get to team drills or team things, he's on the sideline. So that's your injury update for right now. The biggest news to come out of camp yesterday, however, was the suspension of Ronald Jones. This is what happened. Ronald Jones from this is from the NFL. 2-game suspension, suspected PED use. I'm not sure. I saw a tweet go out, but look, some of these accounts, I don't know, man. I don't know how to trust them, so I don't like to really go that far. But possibly the team is going to look into it. Ronald Jones apparently said, he didn't knowingly take anything. They all say that, right? But hopefully for Ronald Jones and his future, he didn't, and he'll be good to go. But right now he's out for a 2-game suspension. However, he'll be able to practice in camp and play in preseason. So here's the thing. Ronald Jones was already a guy that was going to have to go off, right? He was going to have to show out at camp and show out in preseason. Running backs at camp, it's tough to really see it. Preseason is really where you get a chance to get a feel for these backs in game. Here's a problem, though. Ronald Jones is going to have to be damn near Emmitt Smith in preseason games, because when you got a 2-game suspension coming down the pike, it's almost, in my opinion, I'm not keeping that guy if it's a guy like Ronald Jones, right? You're talking about a down roster guy in general, right? At a position where you're not phased if a Ronald Jones isn't on the team, especially when you got other young backs that have shown last year in Malik Davis to be able to step up, a Deuce Vaughn, a guy that we all love in Deuce Vaughn. And it's a position where it's interchangeable fairly easy. So, look, Rojo, you had an uphill battle. You had something to you, but if you got a 2-game suspension looming over your head, I don't really see the need to carry him on the roster Look, I'll keep him on the roster for preseason. Keep him on the roster for camp. You need the bodies, right? You don't want Tony Pollards and anybody else that you may deem, maybe it's Malik Davis or Rico or Deuce, whoever is going to be that guy to get a lot of touches to get all those touches. So you keep them around, you let them, bang with each other, and there's that. But when it comes to making this team, 2-game suspension, you got to go, man. You got to go. So that kind of brings us to the running back room in general. Let's revisit this running back room, Cowboys Nation, and kind of pick up to where we did our State of the Unit a while ago. Behind Tony Pollard, let's just be honest, there's a bunch of question marks, right? Like there's a bunch of question marks at the position. And I said this a while ago. I understand if people are concerned, if people are nervous about this position, right? I understand that. But it is the running back. You do have I think a really good passing game. It's going to be up to your offensive line and then the play calling or scheme. I think that could bring out these specific skills in these guys. But what are we pausing now? What happened? You're killing me with this pause. I can't talk football no more. Where was I here? Oh, so behind Tony Pollard, you got Malik Davis, Deuce Vaughn, Rico Dowdle, and then obviously Ronald Jones is out. Let's go down this list quick. Malik Davis making that second-year jump according to Mike McCarthy. And look, we got a quote here from Mike that we'll get to here in a second that shines light on all these young guys. But he's making that second-year jump. He's a guy that showed flashes last year. And I think we've all said this. We were just dumbfounded. And I don't think I'll ever not be dumbfounded why he wasn't involved more and why he didn't get a shot in the playoffs. But water under the bridge. What it is, man. Malik Davis deserves a shot to try to get that RB2 spot, which is not much in front of him, right? So he should be a guy that should be vying for that. Deuce Vaughn is involved a lot. I feel like every time I'm seeing the offense out there, Deuce Vaughn is out there doing something. Now, again, it's training camp, it's video footage is, coming out, but there is a real emphasis on getting him involved. And that's not just coming from me. That's coming from the head honcho. And he'll have more on that later. But it's Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle, who got the big headline, the big endorsement from Mike McCarthy yesterday. He basically said Rico is the guy that he's like, man, look, I'm telling you, man, Rico is who I'm really, really excited about. Here's the thing about Rico. If my computer wants to work, see, this is why I need a new one. Here's the thing about Rico. He's the most frustrating guy on this list. Yeah. He's the most frustrating guy on this list. And let me tell you why. Every damn offseason, he really does stand out at camp. Every damn offseason, he really does do really well in preseason. I get excited. I'm like, man, I love this dude's playing style. He's a downhill runner, tough nose, rugged. You get amped a bit. And then every damn offseason or right at the beginning of the season, he gets hurt. That's the thing with Rico. Is can you trust Rico? But let me get to this quote from Mike McCarthy before we continue in on Rico. He said here, I'm telling you, I'm loving Rico. It's great having him back. Malik has taken that jump that you're looking for. Those two guys really jump out. If you guys remember last year, it was Rico Dowdle who made the team over Malik Davis, and then he gets hurt. And then Malik Davis comes in and he takes advantage of it. Then he says, obviously, we've got to get Deuce involved. I think that's important. Anytime you're doing your installs and getting ready for the season and then you go through the draft, he's a guy that was on my mind during the summer. I wonder how much, like that quote right there, the bottom part at the very least, really should be talked about more when we're talking about Deuce Vaughn. Maybe we'll see how that plays out. But the fact that he said, obviously, we've got to get Deuce involved. That means like, hey, look, he got a skill set that we cannot ignore. We're going to obviously get him involved here. And then he said, I think it's important. Anytime they were thinking about installs, thinking about getting ready for the season, Deuce Vaughn is on his mind. So I'm going to ask y'all this. So I was thinking about this. As it stands right now, and we're projecting Ronald Jones not on this team for real now, right? The 2-game suspension kind of just stamps his case here. He already had to fight an uphill battle. But here's my question to you. If they carry 4, because here's what I believe. If Rico is the guy, right? If Rico is the guy, we're not counting Hunter Lipke. I know he can be involved in this, but he can also be involved in that tight end room. Just hear me out here. If Rico once again goes to preseason training camp, does well, doesn't get hurt, hopefully doesn't get hurt at all, but and it ends up being like last year where he was healthy going into the season, just got hurt in the season. Do you carry 4 running backs? Because I feel like you have to if Rico Dowdle is one of your guys, because I don't trust the health of Rico, right? So if I'm going 4, here's how I got it. Tony Pollard, your featured back, and we're just talking about guys on the team. There's guys out there in free agency that you can sign. But Tony Pollard, your featured back. I've got Malik and Rico spelling him and sharing that backup role. So instead of a 1-2 punch per se, you got TP's your guy. He's going to get the 15, 18, 19 touches a game. And then you got Rico and Malik who kind of spell him, and they're more of that downhill, hard cut type of runner. But then you got Deuce as your satellite back with the weekly packages. With Malik and Rico, I don't think you're going to need a bunch of packages. But with Deuce, you're going to need some packages because his skill set is just too dang good. So if they go 4, that's kind of how I see it. TP featured back, Malik and Rico kind of sharing that backup role per se. And then Deuce Vaughn as your satellite weekly package guy. Now, that might run you into some problems, right? Do you carry 4 backs on game day? They don't normally do that. So it could be something like last year where, okay, we got to try to sneak one of these dudes on the practice squad. Maybe this year it's Rico and not Malik because teams might be afraid of the injury situation. Last year it was Malik. They cut him. He made it through. No one thought it would. And he got stashed on the practice squad and he was needed. So it is an interesting situation now. The running back room will be taking center stage because of what happened with the suspension. But nothing really changes, in my opinion, with the Ronald Jones suspension. It just takes a guy out of that room to start the season if he were to even make it in the room. But we all believed it was going to be an uphill battle for everybody. Not say uphill battle, but it was going to be a competition for everybody behind a Tony Pollard. So with all that said, Cowboys Nation, we've got our special guest coming in on the horn right now, and it is one Jess Navarez of Pro Football Talk and Girls Talk, Boys Talk. Welcome her in, Bomb Squad. What's up, Jess?
Hey, what is up? Oh my goodness, this is so cool. I have never been on your show, and I feel so honored. Oh my goodness, hi.
Well, don't make me blush now. We just talking ball. we just chilling. But no, I appreciate that, Jess. Actually, you're the one that needs to get a lot of the flowers right now between you and the Girls Talk, Boys Talk cast who are transcending DallasCowboys.com. And then your new gig here with Pro Football Talk where you are the beat writer, man. You are on top of it, and congratulations to all your success.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, it has been such a whirlwind of a career so far, considering I always wanted to be in this position, but I started doing morning weather, right? So when I look back at the entire progression of my career, it's almost a very pinch me moment. But no, PFN has been amazing to me. They've been very healthy for me. They've been very supportive of me, which, you know, when looking for a workspace, it's so vital that you're happy in your work environment. Yes. Because it really shows in your work. And so I think that's kind of a product of what you're seeing with my stories right now. And then with Girls Talk, Boys Talk, working with the girls have just been, it's so amazing working with Aisha, Haley, and then we have Christy that comes in the mix sometimes. So I'm just really blessed to do this every day. And you know what? Now that it's camp season, there's a lot to talk about.
A whole lot to talk about, Jess. And let's pick it up right where we just left off with the running back room. I don't know if you caught some of that there when you came in on the line, but the suspension came down, right, with Ronald Jones. He's going to be out for 2 games if he makes the team. There's a chance he doesn't even make the team, right? But what were your thoughts when you were out there? What did you gather from a lot of these guys? Whatever you could gather, right? Because you can't do too much. There's no tackling or anything like that. But what were your thoughts overall from the guys not named Tony Pollard?
Yeah, the first day when we were there was the first day of camp, right? So where it was really the first time we were going to see Tony Pollard take the field, and that was really cool to see. But then shortly behind him, you see Deuce Vaughn just being speedy and shifty, and then Rico Dowdle just continues to impress. But Malik Davis, I mean, to be honest, I agree with what you said, that it doesn't really impact the room. It just takes out one less competitor for that spot, because Rojo had some glimmers of, speed and especially his takeoff. But what I really have been focused on specifically with this running back competition is, who can really go in there and make the immediate impact. And it's still to be determined, because every single day I feel like one of the new guys has a good day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it hasn't been anything that really stood out to me. There hasn't been one person. They're really picking up their weight to compete for their spot. But, I'm a little impartial to Rico Dowdle, because during the offseason I caught up with him, and he's a guy that even last season I would talk to a lot in the locker room, asking how he felt and, what his mind was going through. And so in the offseason I caught up with him, and he said that he feels this new research of energy because, this is the first time he has really this big opportunity to go in without Zeke there. And he said, it's really no shade to Zeke or anything like that. It's just, this is an opportunity, and it feels different for him. And then he really gave his praise to Schottenheimer, and he said what a good guy Schotty is to work under. So, I think a lot of these factor into that. But again, you mentioned the health factor. Can he stay healthy? He was talking about his off season and how great he felt. He said he's never felt better, and that he found a really good off season regimen that's for him. So I wouldn't count him out, but I also think there's just so much competition in that room right now that without seeing more padded practices, we won't really know.
That's the thing, right, Jess, is that with the running backs, they can't get tackled. So at camp, anytime they touch the ball, most of them are really going to be able to take it, quote unquote, to the house. They're able to make big runs because they can't take them to the ground, and they're told to, right? You run it all the way out, right? So you'll see a guy like Deuce Vaughn show off his shiftiness, or like you said, Ronald Jones may show off his initial explosion or whatnot. But it was always, to me, going to come down to training camp, and that's where a guy like Rico Dowdle preseason, and that's where a guy like Rico Dowdle really showed off the last 2 years and beat out guys like Malik Davis and those before him. So I didn't realize you actually talked to him and got a chance to get inside his head. But I'm rooting hard for him. I really am, Jess. I'm just honest. I can't fake the funk. I say this all the time on the show. I can't fake the funk. I am nervous about if they roll with him and only want to roll with 3, trusting him to be that RB2 full time because of the injury situation.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. Tony Pollard looked great at camp, right? I was really surprised at how much he was able to do, because even during OTAs and minicamp, he wasn't participating. So we didn't get to see him media-wise until training camp. And so I was a little nervous, like, how is Tony Pollard realistically going to come back from this injury, though it's not a nagging injury or anything like that? You get nervous for a running back with a leg injury. I mean, you just do. He needs his leg, obviously, to be a running back. But I think you also have to put in question this ramp-up phase, right? Because we know Mike McCarthy likes to ramp up his players come injury time, and I appreciate the heck out of that because it's so respectable. He's not just throwing them back in the fire. So how long is this ramp-up phase going to really, go into play for TP? Because you also have to think, the starters didn't have any preseason games last year. I don't see that changing this year again. So how long is this ramp-up phase? How much power are you really going to need behind him while he does that ramp-up phase? Because that's kind of another layer to this entire situation. Again, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I think Tony Pollard's on track to, week 1 be Tony Pollard again. But I also think, when you're missing a guy like Zeke and you have to fill in that spot and that missing gap now, especially when it comes to the pass pro and the blocking aspect and the physical guy that Zeke was, especially in the red zone, you have to get a guy that's going to step up. And so whoever it is, whether it's Malik or Deuce, Hunter, or Rico, I think they're really going to have to fill in those gaps. And when I talked to Rico, he had said that he wants to be that physical guy that Zeke was. So, I'm rooting for all of them. It's a really good competition room.
And the physical part is definitely his game. I think he's the most physical of the, Malik Davis, Deuce Vaughn, Rico Dowdle situation. I think he'd be the most physical. Let me turn the page quick here, Jess, to the wide receiver room, because I think a battle that is living up to the hype is that wide receiver battle behind the top three guys in CeeDee Lamb, Cooks, and Michael Gallup, right? They are. It seems like every day there's a different guy that's standing out. At first, Simi Fehoko was having the most trouble, right? He dropped the ball in practice one, and then after that, he seems to put together a string of good practices. Jalen Tolbert, second-year jump. You're loving to hear him, right? Jalen Moreno-Cropper, he's making plays out there early in camp. Jalen Brooks is now a guy who is quietly doing all the right things. And then Kevontae Turpin is getting involved out there as well. This wide receiver 4 battle is fun.
Oh, yeah, it is. And it's just as fun to watch in camp. Let me tell you, it is so fun to watch. And, you started with Semi. And the thing I like about Semi is that he didn't let that first day bring him down, right? He didn't put it in his head, and he's not living off of that moment. It's, all right, pick myself back up and let's keep going. And for me, that's the kind of guy I want to see more of, is somebody that's not going to get in his head, especially day one with something like that, with the bounced off ball to the interception. But I think Semi's a guy you don't count out either. I mean, he gets lost in the mix because it's such a stacked room, but he is absolutely, he's putting in the work, right? And this is the same thing I said about Jalen Tolbert too, is you see these guys putting in the work with Dak in the offseason, making it a priority, especially, they have such a limited time off of their job, and they're still choosing to go and make this initiative to make this connection with Dak. And, I had talked to Semi a while back, and Semi had just said, there's something special about working with Dak in the Dak yard, because it's not just like we're going out on a random high school football field. We're at his house, and it's something just that it connects you more. It's more personal. And, for both Jalen Tolbert and Semi Fehoko to get those reps has been really awesome to see. Really, their work is paying off. As for Jalen, he's somebody that, I saw last year in the locker room, and he was sitting there just really watching everything when he was in the middle of his funk. And that's what we'll call it, because that's not who he is. I think Jalen Tolbert is so much more than what we've seen, because we really just haven't seen a lot. And I remember we would have conversations about, where his mind was, how he was doing. And it's so incredibly cool to see where he is now after this offseason and after all the work he's put in. And, it's one of those things that I'm so glad Dak Prescott is his guy. I am so glad, because Dak was not going to let Jalen sit there and, do this by himself and come out of this funk. And his work ethic speaks for itself. He looks like a starting wide receiver. I mean, you see him at camp and you're like, that guy's a starting wide receiver. He's on a different level, and it's really, I'm so excited for him. Kevontae Turpin, I'm not shocked. I am not shocked. This guy, Turp's somebody that I talked to a lot last season as well, and his body was tired. I mean, this guy had been going nonstop for 2 years, football, and everybody needs a bit of an off season, a bit of a break, right? But I think with Turp, he knew how good this rest was going to be for him, because what he could come back and be, and what you're seeing glimpses of, because again, he hasn't been there the whole time. He had to welcome his little baby girl, so congrats to Turp on that. But you're seeing glimpses of what Turp's been planning this entire time. And so I think it's really cool to see him come in at the right time, because it's hard to say that you would see this version of Kevontae Turpin under, the scheme that just was a little too much for everybody last year. So I think what you're seeing is everything's clicking for everybody.
Yes.
You have the guys. You have all the Jalen's. We didn't realize how many Jalen's there were until we're like, did you see Jalen? Oh, which one? Like, there's so many Jalen's. But really, really, I don't think there's a wrong path you can take for that wide receiver 4 spot at this point. There are so many guys that bring so many things, and Dak Prescott is really high on, look, even if you don't make that position, I'm going to need you at some point, whether we pull you up from practice squad or you're my third down guy, I'm going to need you. And so to see the initiative taken to connect with all these guys is just, again, something that I think a lot of people take Dak Prescott for they take it for granted, because how many other quarterbacks do you see doing what Dak is doing around the NFL? And it's paying off, and you're just seeing the beginning of it.
You mentioned something earlier about the young wide receivers kind of getting it this year because it's easier. I think about a guy like Jalen Brooks, right? A 7th round pick who has come in and he's impressed in this offense. And think about last year with guys like Tolbert, where it was difficult for him. I think that's a testament to Schottenheimer, McCarthy, Dak, and the receivers, right? And the receivers getting on the same page with them in the offseason and working. Months ago, when we decided to move over from Cullen Moore to Mike McCarthy in this West Coast, a lot of us were saying this system is going to help these young wide receivers. The veterans will be the veterans, but these young wide receivers, we're going to need somebody to take that, who was it you said, Cedric Wilson type of leap, maybe in their second or third year. And having this offense be able to be easier for those guys, I think we will be able to see one of them do that, whether it be the Jalen Tolberts or Semis or, I don't know if Brooks is going to do it early in his career, but Turpin or whatnot. So I think that's something that we have to keep in mind when we're talking about these young guys is this scheme is going to make it easier for them. So it shouldn't surprise us if one of them gets called upon during the regular season and they show out because they got the talent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think with that, too, when I was talking to Dak about it, that was about Semi when he said that he's on a Cedric Wilson kind of career path right now. And the parallels are there. I mean, you deep dive into kind of where Cedric was before he took his jump and what he even did in his offseason, right, which was working with Dak to make sure that jump was taken. Dak told me that specifically about Semi. And so that was during OTAs, and that was right before camp or before their break before camp. So, then during that time, guess what they did? They got more connection time in, did some work in the Dak yard. And, again, I think this room is so stacked. There's not a wrong answer. No matter how you take it, there's so much talent, and that's a good problem to have. We didn't think we'd have this problem pre Brandon Cooks signing. We really didn't think we would have this problem, right? But I also want to give kudos to Brandon Cooks and the immediate impact he's made going in there for these young guys. They will all tell you just straight up how much Brandon Cooks and his advice and his leadership has really helped them, even just in the short period of time he's been here.
I want to talk to you about some of these other young guys, because a lot of us are excited about some of the grass is greener type guys, the dudes we haven't seen. John Stevens Jr., the Hunter Lipkes of the world, the TJ Basses. You were out there when John Stevens Jr. had that big catch last week. And apparently with Schoonmaker out, he's getting some tight end 3-ish looks with McEwen. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, no, and I think I'm so glad you mentioned Sean McEwen too. I think no matter what, the young talent in this room right now, it's just incredible to watch. Because look, even if these guys don't end up making the final 53, which it's not projected that they do, right? And that's as of right now, because when it comes to training camp, things can change day by day, and we say that because it's just the reality of how training camp works. But when you're seeing these young guys take initiative, and I'm not talking even during the play, I'm talking after the play, talking to the tight end, the veteran tight end next to them, whether that's Sean or Peyton or even Jake Ferguson, right? And taking that initiative, that's what I look for too. It's one thing to have a great play and a great catch and getting those reps in, but it's another thing to go and you see them take the initiative to get better even after they had a good play. And I think that's kind of a product of what you're seeing now. So, yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm glad you mentioned Sean because he does not get enough kudos, and I was so happy that Schottenheimer
I like Sean.
mentioned that. Oh, man, I was like, thank you, Schottenheimer, thank you. No, I think Sean McEwen, he's getting a lot of attention at camp, and he's having a really good camp so far. So don't count him out either, because again, I think this horseman kind of room is going to transition into 4 horsemen. I don't think it's 3. I think it's more looking like 4 at this point, because he's making it known that he still wants the spot, despite Schoonmaker being in the mix as well. So Schoon, also a guy that it's really cool to see what he does, even though he's not allowed to really be in and taking the full reps and getting full practice because of that injury on his foot, which I don't know if y'all have done the research on this injury, what a nagging injury this is. It's something he's dealt with since college. And, it's cool to see him get the mental reps and take that initiative. You see them all lined up, and he's lining up kind of on the side doing what he can. So it's really cool to see him building that nuance as well. But I talked to him, and this was a story I was really excited to do with PFN, because during the draft, post-draft, his first media interview, he had mentioned how he wanted to reach out to Jason Witten. And he had talked about how, he grew up kind of a Gronk guy, but that he was doing his research, and obviously the first person when you research Cowboys tight ends who's going to come up was Jason Witten. And so I finally got to ask him at camp the last day I was there. I said, hey, by the way, what did he tell you? And Goon said that Jason, by name dropped, take advantage of your leaders that you have on this team, Dak Prescott and Zach Martin. Take advantage of every opportunity they give you, anything they tell you, and soak it in. Something that he mentioned, too, was, just the balancing act of everything that made Jason Witten such a great teammate and asset on and off the field, right? So it was really cool to see him, picking the brain of Jason Witten and trying to already set the bar that high for himself. He said it's just a matter of me getting back on the field, basically, at this point. So I'm excited to see him too.
Yes, that pick is a controversial one we've talked about a lot here on the show. It's very unfortunate with the injury. We hope he gets better and he's able to contribute some way, but I'm starting to think that might not be early in his career, at least in year 1, because tight ends is tough. It's tough to get on, tough to contribute like that, and when you're behind with an injury, it could be real tough, especially when a guy like Jake Ferguson, who's having a good camp, and they like Peyton Hendershot and Sean McEwen. Those 3 to me are the 3 at the moment. Schoonmaker, once he comes back, he'll definitely have something to say about it, though.
Yeah, no, I think, I think we're also seeing kind of a new transition of the tight end room with the Cowboys. And when we started to see that last year, but I think they'll figure out a way to get him in there if he's healthy. So, again, we haven't really gotten to see him at full force, but we won't know until we do. So one of those tricky situations, but I'm really high on this tight end room and just the young talent, the potential it has, not just for this season, but really going on as well.
Let's flip the page to the defensive room. You wrote your latest article. You said, let me turn this off for you. Your latest article was Dallas Cowboys training camp practice report defensive weapons show why they could be elite. Well, I could just give you one name why they could be elite, right? Micah Parsons yesterday was fantastic.
I was going to say, you see who's on the cover photo right there? Who do you think I'm talking about?
Oh, my God. He dominated that entire defensive line. Right tackle, left tackle, Terrence Steele, Tyron Smith. Didn't matter who you put out in front of him, man. And then guys like, D-Law joined the party and whatnot. So this defense, I agree. I think it can be elite. But what was the basis of your article without giving it too far away? You want people to go click on it, but tease it so people can go click on that thing.
2 words, Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
That's really, look, here's the thing, is Micah made some very big and bold statements in his press conference, right? Talking about going into the deep water and wanting to take his team to an island. And I loved it. I soaked in every minute of it. And it was one of those things and those moments so far in my career that I'm going to look back and always remember that Micah Parsons press conference, because you just know when somebody is just dead serious about what they're saying, right? Like, you can spot out when a player is being just so genuine. And every press conference that, I took part in while I was there, everybody's been so genuine in what they're saying because they believe in it and they believe in what they're saying. So for Micah Parsons to go out and say, look, I focus on my weakness and all the weaknesses I do have this offseason, and that's why I'm picking brains of just even offensive linemen and like Andrew Whitworth, big example there, to really hone in how I can get better. And it's hard to imagine a world where Micah Parsons can get even better. But there is a world because he's showing you that. And it's absolutely insane. He knocked down Tyron Smith like it was nothing. Just absolutely nothing to him. And Aisha Morrison, when we were on Girls Talk, Boys Talk yesterday, she made a good point in saying if this O-line can hold up against, this defense, they're not in too bad of shape. And I think when you have somebody like Micah Parsons that is not only making your defensive players better, but also your O-line that needs to be shored up, if he is doing what he can to make sure that they're at the best of their game, you're getting the best of both worlds there. And yes, that was a Hannah Montana reference because I see Professor O in the comments making the Lizzie McGuire references, and I love it so much.
I was wondering I was wondering what that was about. Hashtag Ask Lizzie. Is it because you? Yeah, is he saying you look like Lizzie McGuire?
That's kind of how it started on Twitter. We were talking about
I see a little
celebrity lookalike. Yeah, everyone says I look like Hillary Duff, and growing up it was always like Lizzie McGuire, all of that. And so we just run with it now. So anytime I hear any kind of Lizzie McGuire or Hillary Duff song, I'll tweet Professor O with that because it's hilarious. Okay. And I love hashtag Ask Lizzie. Can we just keep that?
I was quite literally about to say, Jess, every time you come on my show now, when the chat wants to ask a question, I'm going to just put in there, hashtag Ask Lizzie. I do have a couple questions. Some people. Yeah. Miss Jackie said, please ask her about Marquise Bell and Isaiah Land. How are they looking?
Okay, yeah. So Marquise Bell, when everything happened with Dono that first day, he was the first one that got right back in and started taking the reps. And it was something that, obviously I saw when Dono went to the tent and all of that. But then I also didn't feel a drop-off from Marquise Bell being in the position where he was with even just J-Ron next to him. I didn't feel a drop-off. And so if that tells you where he's at, that tells you it's a good thing if you're not feeling a drop-off from Donovan Wilson not being on the field and him really stepping up. And then Isaiah Land, I didn't get to see a lot of him. I'm going to be very honest. I didn't get to see a lot of him. But what I did see, maybe the couple of reps that I saw that he was in there, he didn't look bad. He looked good. I think he's somebody that Dan Quinn can really work with and bring the best out of, like we've seen many, many times at this point. But yeah, I think Marquise Bell is not a name to forget when you're trying to project this roster. I wouldn't leave him out of there.
Oh no,
he looked great, and he's ready for that jump. You can just see it.
Yeah, I think it would take Wanye Thomas or somebody, Tyler Coyle, to go crazy because I think your safeties are set. I think you got your big three, and then you got Bell and you got Izzy, who ironically he's out right now along with Donovan Wilson. So it is time for one of these guys to step up for him here. So if you guys get any more before we let Lizzie McGuire go here, aka Jess Navarez from Far Ends from Pro Football Talk. Hey, look. Okay, so I didn't want to interrupt you, but anytime you bring up Aisha, I have to press this button. So now, anytime you come on the show, you are going to have your own music as well, and it's going to be the Lizzie McGuire song.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting! No, look, I love that. I'm all for it. Even Aisha started in on this because we see each other every day for Girls Talk, Boys Talk, and we'll be out there. And she goes, "You look very Lizzie McGuire today." And that's her thing, is she will tell me I look like Lizzie McGuire all the time, and it's just really funny. And she always tells me I have to do the video where it's like, I'm Jess Navarez, and you're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, and kind of do that whole thing. So
the Disney thing, the thing where they got the little they got the little magic stick, Okay. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, so we're gonna figure that out at some point because Aisha I feel like she'd be very proud of me bringing that up.
Indeed. All right, well, I don't see too many other questions coming in here, Jess. Look, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you probably was doing some traveling over the weekend from camp and whatnot. You're still putting out articles. I clicked on your PFN profile. You've done 31 articles there already?
Yeah, and I only started, 2 weeks ago yesterday. Uh-huh.
Hey, look,
2 weeks
keep
ago
the pressure on them, Jess. Keep the pressure on them, man. All you girls on the Girls Talk, Boys Talk, like I said, I feel like you're transcending.com with what you're doing, and we are taking notice. And we appreciate it. And look, this definitely can't be the last time you're here. All right?
Oh, yeah.
Let them know where they can find you, by the way.
Always available. Oh, yeah. I'm always here if you want to talk. You already know. I would love to do this again, especially if we're talking some Lizzie McGuire music. Please count me in. You guys can find me at @JessNavarez_ on, I'm still going to call it Twitter. It's still Twitter forever, or X, whatever. I refuse to call it that because that's just not what it is. On Instagram, and then, of course, keep up with all things PFN on ProFootballNetwork.com. Again, I'm pumping out articles daily at this point, and that's not going to stop. So I'm there. And then, of course, Girls Talk, Boys Talk, which will be back on tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, and then Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time for this week. So make sure to tune in. But thank you.
I got one more Ask Lizzie question, Jess. Will you have, when me and Jesse, you and Aisha link up, are you still going to have that notebook?
Oh my!
Just let it live. Just go crazy with me and Aisha. Just go crazy with us, man. Come on.
Nah. Look, I'm so glad Jesse had the same kind of style I did with taking notes during games.
Me and Jesse.
It is not gonna change.
It's ridiculous how spot on Jess and Jesse are, and then me and Aisha, we call each other twin. How we are at game day. I thought that was fun though, man. Me and her are crazy, and y'all two are just jotting down notes in between. I can't do it. It got to stay here. I don't got time. I'm too crazy.
No, we found our work twins, and I love it because
doppelgangers.
Especially with Jesse, it was really funny because he was somebody that even when he was playing, I was like, oh, name twin. Hell yeah. And so it's really funny that we end up like coming together with this kind of full circle thing. And I'm like, oh, name twin and notebook twin. Hell yeah. Like, this
crazy.
Is cool.
How that works out, man.
So, maybe one day, I will go crazy with you guys. Maybe one day. I'm not going to count it out. It just depends on what game it is.
When the confetti drops.
Maybe one day.
Feel me?
Exactly. That's when I'll go crazy with you guys because wouldn't that be something?
Yes, it would. Jess Navarez, Pro Football Talk Network, Girls Talk, Boys Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, please drop the fire emojis in the chat for this fantastic guest appearance. Thank you, Jess, and we will definitely do this again.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.
Indeed. Salute. That was Miss Jess Navarez, PFN.com. Girls Talk, Boys Talk. You can find her on .com. She said, I think tomorrow with one and Haley Sutton. I'm sorry if I said that name wrong, but they're doing great work over there. Shouts out to Jane Slater for putting that whole thing together and then kind of trusting them to essentially take it over, right? And they've 100% done that. That was fun, though. We 100% got to get her back on. I will never get Lizzie McGuire out of my head now. I was wondering, Professor O, what are you talking about with the hashtag Lizzie? Is that her middle name? Is that a real name? Jess is just a penmanship name? Like, what is going on? But now, Hillary Duff, yeah. And if you don't know who Hillary Duff is, just Google it. Just Google it. Yeah. Ain't like I watched the show either, but I know who Hillary Duff is, and I'll leave it at that. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back out of that, and we are going to go around the web or around the nation with some practice reports from .com. We got an insider who got some practice reports. We'll get a video clip, and of course, we'll hit the phone line. So recharge, get your drinks, get your coffees. Let's keep it funky, Cowboys Nation.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
in front of the millions.
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. We'll do it live.
Am I lying, L? Just Google. Honestly, you can be a Gen, what do they call these, Z now? And you would know who Hillary Duff is because of social media. You wouldn't even know about the show, Lizzie McGuire. I couldn't even tell you an episode. You know what I'm saying? That's all. Just Google it. You can Google Lizzie, you can Google Hillary. It don't matter. Both work. All right, where we at? Where do I want to pick this thing up at here? So, I want to hit this video. I was debating if I wanted to come back to this because we already did a CD Lamb audio yesterday talking about players, plays, the offense, and things like that. But this specific one that Bobby had on Twitter, in fact, let me see if I over here. We got that right here. And we're going to turn that off right there. So this specific video, I think CD is talking about the angles and whatnot that we were talking about on Vacha's show. And I just kind of wanted to play out so people can hear it and maybe get an understanding of what he was saying when he was talking about, the offense is going to be in Dak's hands and he'll have more control. That's the big headline today. Dak has control of the offense, right? Here's CeeDee Lamb talking about a lot of that in the communication and whatnot. Here we go.
Communication can mean anything, right? But as far as the terms of football, it's verbal and nonverbal. He could switch a play without even saying anything. So therefore, nobody knows what's going on. So he could be checking the protection, but also talking to us. So therefore, it would change our route to a different, angle or just change the whole play. And I feel like we were lacking a lot of that last year. Granted that we were high on the communication, but it is definitely.
So there's people who are upset or saying, "Oh, well, are you saying he never changed play?" No, he changed plays. He audibled. He went to line of scrimmage, did a whole lot of that. In fact, a lot of the times when Dak was the one doing all of the audibling and stuff and doing his own plays, the offense was at a pretty efficient pace. But when CeeDee Lamb says we were lacking the ability to do some of these things that didn't, you didn't have to change the whole entire play. You could just kind of say, hey, without looking, nonverbal, we're just going to switch this route up on its own type situation. Kind of like what, who was it? Amari Cooper, 2018. Hey, man, we ain't running this. Run this. It'll work. So the own receiver is saying some of these things weren't happening last year and people still don't want to listen.
Definitely instilled in this offense, instilled on this team. And we've been working on communication since San Fran, right? So just being big on that, being on the same page is probably the most important thing in the NFL because everybody's good, everybody's talented, everybody makes plays. The only edge that you can't have is being on the same page and having a crazy timing, and timing beats anything.
So this whole Dak intercept, that's the storyline right now. What do you say to this whole Dak interception number narrative?
A lot of, if you look at it, a lot of it was on us as receivers, not being on the same page. But the communication part, that's where it comes into play. I feel like if we were always on the same page, understanding I will have to cross face on this play instead of taking a regular angle, that's 2 picks right there that's taken away. And then some are tip passes, that can be completions. That's 4 picks. So.
Yeah, he spoke a lot. That was a pretty good interview from CeeDee Lamb. If you guys want to go check that out. At any point. I mean, there was a lot of different things in there, but I wanted to point that one out because we had talked about it yesterday a little bit. Now let's go around the nation to some of these practice notes. Let's talk about Kyle Yeomans. What Kyle Yeomans got for us? Kyle, I like how he breaks down the practice notes, man. I really do. All right, high energy session. Coaches and players happy for pads, squabbling. Strong day for the passing game. Lamb, Cooks, Tober, Fehoko, Gallup all found holes in the zone. Dak was great. Micah and D-Law were in the backfield a lot. Kickers made it when it mattered. Let me stay right there real quick. Let me stay right there because obviously the thumbnail today is about how the offense was catching fire. And honestly, it's kind of picking up from the other day. Here's what I find interesting. The offense was definitely catching some fire, right? But then Micah and D-Law were winning some of their battles as well. So again, it's kind of that punch for punch that you want to hear about. But this route right here and the route the other day is getting me excited. Okay, it's getting me excited about this offense. And this is why I thought Brandon Cooks was so damn important. There are just things you're able to do with him. And then when it comes to the West Coast and the passing concepts with Schottenheimer and McCarthy kind of putting their heads together, right? You're seeing, we talked about the slant flat situation. Yes, or 2 days ago, we saw the, the whip route with a sluggo behind it, right? You're seeing this kind of corner post. These routes were not frequent. I promise you they weren't. In fact, I don't recall, and maybe I could be wrong, Cowboys Nation, but I probably can count. You could probably chop off 2 of my fingers, 2 of them. I can count on one hand how many times I saw a sluggo last year. I don't remember a bunch of sluggos. With the whip route under it, with the 2 quickest and fastest players on your offense. Let me calm down. It's practice. I'm not supposed to get too crazy with it, but what I wanted to see out of these training camp practices for me really wasn't about the specific individuals. We'll see individual winnings and whatnot. It was the concepts. I know what I got in a lot of these players and what their skill sets are, but how are we going to utilize these guys in their skill sets? I'm seeing a lot of that too, by the way. A whole lot of over routes, getting CD Lamb involved on the move like that. And not just on some quick slant, but deep as well. So I'm enjoying what we're seeing conceptually, at least what we can see, and who I'm speaking with down there telling me that these things are evident. I'm enjoying hearing about that and seeing that. And that's why I think this offense has a chance, like I said before, to be just as good, if not more efficient in years past. But good to know the receiving group continues to show some growth there. He also continued here, Cowboys Nation. Let me bring you back. He said, talked to Mozzie after, was ready to hit somebody today. So there's that video of Mozzie Smith going around where he said, I don't even like football. I just want to hit somebody. I don't even like football. I just want to. People are taking that literally. Oh my God, first round pick doesn't like football. Relax. You know what he means. You know what he means. And you want a nasty one tech there. And there's a video that's out of Mozzie Smith getting double teamed and kind of lifted a bit. Get off was not great, so they're still working on the get off there probably, and he'll probably tell you that wasn't his best rep. However, on .com, I think it was Kyle who talked about Mozzie. He said Mozzie's been very open around his excitement for pads coming on. Today, he didn't disappoint by remaining physical in the middle and taking on double teams. He stood his ground on the inside, not allowing for easy holes in the run game. Additionally, he made some adjustments in alignment and pass rush to cover some more ground. So the thing about camp, you'll see a video. It's mostly a negative video, not really a positive one. People don't really care about it unless it's a crazy highlight play. You'll see a video, it'll go viral, and people will automatically assume that's what happened on that day. Well, I think it was Kyle talked about it, Pat talked about it, Machota talked about it. Mozzie had a solid day when the pads came on, had a good day, didn't disappoint, remained physical in the middle, taking on double teams. He's going to be taking on a lot of double teams. You're going to need him to remain physical in the middle in doing so. We want to see some of those car crashes, right, eventually at some point. But Mozzie Smith, I think he'll get his lick back. Y'all think he'll get his lick back? He got a double team. He got lifted. He definitely got. But I think he'll get his lick back, man. Let's go down some more of these practice notes here. Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence found their way in the backfield for multiple sacks. Those sacks came against a rotation of players at tackle. However, Chima Edoga stood strong on the edge with a few solid blocks and pass protection to give Prescott time to throw. Good to hear some positive things coming out of there with Chuma Edoga. We talked about the kicker situation earlier. Jalen Tolbert continues to impress. He's joined by Semi Fehoko, who had a very strong day in his first padded team practice. Fehoko was crisp in his routes and reeled in a deep ball that required him to morph into a center fielder, looking for his screamer off of the bat, beating the coverage, and making the over-the-shoulder grab. Again, every day it seems like one of these guys on this list is standing out. And that is the type of competition I like. I don't want a competition where somebody got hurt and now they're taking it, or somebody is just so bad they're automatically by default moving up or down a depth chart. I want this thing to be a fight, an absolute battle. And we're hearing great things about Jalen, Semi stacking them together, Tolbert showing his skill set from a receiver standpoint. Jalen Brooks is making his name noticed here. Look, who did I talk to the other day? We talked about carrying 6 or 7 receivers. I can't remember who it was, but if we end up carrying 7 receivers, like I said, I want it to be because they absolutely can't cut somebody because they are playing so damn good in camp and preseason. That's how I want it to be. And right now, the fight for 4, right, if per se, because it ain't going to be just 4. It's probably going to be 6 or 7, so all these dudes can make it. But this battle is a fun one right now and a competitive one. And all these guys are doing some great things. And Cowboys Nation, you should be happy that there is this battle going on and it's living up to the hype. There is, however, a toxic side of Cowboys Nation that we all understand and is here, that they're not looking for the positives in having this fight. They're looking for something toxic to fight about because that's just the nature of the type of fan they are. You don't know how to fan without being toxic. That goes for some of the plays that are happening out there. Like, you'll completely miss something that a young player did because you're looking for the toxicity in the play. Relax. These young bucks are out here making waves, and you should be happy about it, man. You should be happy. Well, your name is Toxic Tom. Toxic. But actually, I don't really see you do this much. You just specifically key in on one player. And then Kyle talked about the tight ends. Let me get back here. Kyle talked about the tight ends worked almost exclusively as blockers in team drills. Rough day for the offensive line depth. D-line got the better of them as the day went on, and then that's where the lots of pressure work, 3rd and 4th down. That's kind of what I was hearing around down there too. And you saw the videos, right? Micah and D-Law getting busy. On the play where Mozzie got lifted, I actually saw Hankins get some depth, some push in the backfield too. So, I mean, again, we can focus on that part, but I looked at Hankins and said, ooh, picking up right where he left off. So those are some of the practice notes coming out of yesterday. We'll continue to kind of go down that path as we move forward. Tomorrow, if all goes well, we will have Brian on to talk about what he saw in the second day of padded practice and kind of his overall thoughts on the first 2 days of padded practice. And then Thursday, of course, we'll get the scientific method with Pat No-C Walker. Let's hit the phone lines, though. Get back to it. We got, I believe, Jake the Great on the horns. Been holding for a good bit, man. What's up, Jake?
What's happening, dog? Good morning, Scott Walker. Bomb Squad, how you doing?
We doing lovely,
well,
brother.
Scott Walker, before I start, I want to give a shout-out to the lovely ladies on the .com Girls Talk, Boys Talk. You know what I'm saying? It's rare that you have a group of ladies that actually know football and know exactly what they talk about. I'm not taking shots at no ladies. I appreciate y'all. Great work.
Jake
Keep
the Great's thoughts are not of that of Skywalker still and A to Z. Don't get me.
No. You know how it is.
I'm just messing with you.
But on the running backs, I think we're gonna have to keep 4 of them. And I'm rooting for Rico. But, you know what I'm saying, every year he's almost like on that Tyrone Smith thing because he shows a lot of flash, a lot of speed, a lot of potential. Then he gets hurt. I almost want to call him made out of glass, man. But my second running back is going to be Deuce Vaughn. I know right now we're looking at him as a gadget dude. I went back. This man has like a 40-minute highlight tape. And this highlight tape ain't just of him
Come on, Deuce?
breaking tackles. He's actually, Deuce Vaughn.
Oh, yeah, Deuce is
He's
power.
like 35-minute. Bro, like, if this dude was 5'11", 6 foot, he's going in the first round. So I feel like once we get into a preseason game, I feel like Deuce is going to separate himself from the pack, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Deuce, again, if we go back to this, let me find this quote here. If we go back to this quote, you know, again, I'm telling you, I'm loving Rico and talking about Rico and Malik is fine. But when he said, obviously, talking about Mike McCarthy, obviously, we've got to get Deuce involved, and I think that's important. And he talked about anytime he's thinking about installs or game plan or the season, Deuce Vaughn is on his mind. we could be in for a situation where he has a legitimate role here, y'all, where he's touching the ball 100 times.
Oh, absolutely. Because anytime you have somebody that small of stature and he runs that ball through the middle with no fear, this man is dragging coconuts. I mean, he has no fear. He goes right through there with the 300-pound gorillas and bangs with the best of them. You got to love that. And on one thing that I seen from Law's, shout out to Law on West Coast out there in Oxnard giving us great content. One thing I seen that gave me hope, and I'm drinking all the Kool-Aid, I seen drag routes. I seen screens. I seen things I've never seen before. And I'm like, dang, I don't want to drink the Kool-Aid this early, but this pad of practice, Dak is dealing. Any one of y'all that's going to call after me talking about Dak interceptions, I advise you go watch that practice from Law. Dak was dealing. This offense looks great. I'm excited for the season. And, boy, how about the Cowboys? I don't want to just blabber on and let other people talk, but, man, great show. And, shit, let's do it, man.
Salute. Appreciate you, Jake. Yeah, that means this offense is designed to make life easier and better and more efficient for your quarterback. People are messed up. Look, they must think Dak is some random bottom third quarterback or something, or some mid 15, 16. He's not. Dak Prescott is a really damn good quarterback, and now he's getting a system that helps that. Yeah, I expect him to be even better with the assistance of this scheme, right? And having more overs and better and easier reads due to the concepts and whatnot. So, look, if you want to doubt him, that's fine. I think he's going to have a fantastic season. The only thing that I need to see from him, and I'm going to keep on saying it, is finish. Just finish. And I believe that might be the case here with the way things are set up. I think will be set up. They talked about, I think it was McCarthy. I don't know if I still got the audio, but he said, this is going to be about 4 minutes, the last 4 minutes and finishing these type of games or whatnot. And I think the scheme is going to help him do it. So he doesn't worry me one bit when it comes to playing out there between the numbers, between first and the minute 1 and minute 54. It's going to be those last 4 or 5 minutes that really are going to count, especially in the postseason for me, for Dak. Oh, Iceberg Slim, why are you like this, dude? How's your boy Schoolmaker doing, Iceberg? How's he doing? I do not understand your gripe with Jake Ferguson, who's having a good camp. You call him stiff, you call him... It's weird to me, man, where he has actual NFL video footage in college of him making dudes miss at a pretty high level. It's mind-boggling, bro. It's mind-boggling. And then you are spamming the chat about Jalen Tolbert. First of all, number one, Jalen Tolbert has always had the talent. We've said that here many of times. We talked about, can we see Jalen Tolbert take the mental step in year 2? Because if he does that, the talent is there. This is the toxicity I'm talking about. Jalen Tolbert taking that next step should be a positive. You trying to fight Tolbert versus Gallup is the toxic side. If Tolbert beats out Gallup because he beats him out on the field, dude, that is amazing. But there's people that are toxic and need clout and need, this type of attention, this I told you so type of stuff, like you, bro, that you spam these chats with nonsensical type of comments that mean absolutely nothing, my guy. But I'm going to give you your attention today, man. I'm going to give you your attention. You got it. Now stop hiding behind the comments, call in, and let's have a conversation about football. Let's do it. 813, what it is, what it do.
Yo, you know who it is, man.
No, I can't hear you, dog.
Hold on.
I'm gonna come back to you, big dog.
It's me.
You here?
Yep.
All right, carry on.
And it's me. Thank God for me. Hey, how you doing? What?
I'm doing good, but I'm having trouble getting you in here, man. I'm gonna give you a few more seconds. And he gone. Let's get Twan from Connecticut on the phone. What's good, Twan?
Sky, what's good, baby?
What's happening,
How
big
you?
dog?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Camp looks great, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I gotta, and I rarely disagree with you, but I gotta disagree with you on the explosive with Kayvon Turpin. I ain't gonna lie. I'm like, watch, man. If he ain't catching five catches, 40 yards, man, I don't believe in him. To be honest,
So,
I don't think he's gonna make the team.
So, what do you disagree with before you say disagree? Because I don't even know if you know what I even say. What do you disagree with?
I don't think he's part of the explosives, as you said yesterday on yesterday's show. I wouldn't put him as one of the explosives.
Okay, then no, we gonna talk about that. Hold the hell up. You don't think Kevontae Turpin has explosive traits?
No, he does, but you juking up niggas like Calvin Joseph. Like you're not doing that to nobody real. Calvin Joseph.
Okay, so if you want to diminish the highlights in camp, that's fine. I don't care about that. I'm just talking about the traits, my guy. You don't consider Kevontae Turpin's traits explosive?
They are, but I don't really believe in them. Like it's like, all right, it's cool.
Okay.
Like,
well, this is why I asked you what exactly do you disagree with, and you told me you don't believe he's an explosive player. So, yeah. I mean, I think you'd be the only one on an island that would think that Kevontae Turpin is not an explosive player. But I'll let you go ahead.
Also, I think we need to run three running backs. Mine's Rojo's out of here. Mine's is Malik and Deuce, and I definitely agree with Deuce getting 100 touches on a year. You could swap him and Malik, however you want it. Honestly.
Yeah, I think you said Deuce and Malik. So here's what I said earlier. So you got three. You got Deuce, Malik, and TP. Look, I ain't mad at that one either. Because again, Rico, for me, I'm going to get excited again. He going to kill it in preseason like he normally do. I just can't. I don't trust him, dog. But they love him. They actually probably like him more than Malik Davis. So if he stays healthy, then he'll be a fine, I think, number 2 back for you. But if he makes a team, I feel like you got to have at least 4 backs you can count on. And he ain't cutting Deuce. It sounds like he going to be involved. So.
Yeah. And how do you feel about all the media and all the Eagles fans going crazy with Dak throwing interception?
I don't care about that.
And
you got the wrong one. So I don't fight on Twitter with that stuff. I don't get involved in all that, man. I fought that fight. I lived in PA for a long time. I fought that fight every damn day. I've grown as a fan, and that to me is just boring now. You know, that's boring. That's boring to me. I like to talk actual football now. But hey, I sit back and I watch. I'm eating popcorn. I'm watching, but I don't really get involved in all that, man.
Yeah, nah, me neither. I just had a bunch of people just tagging me in on Twitter. It's annoying because like Aaron Rodgers just threw an interception.
Yeah,
nobody saying nothing about that.
You're not going to hear
Josh Allen was he threw 2 interceptions on Tigers. Nobody saying nothing about that. So it's corny how people just pick and choose.
Bro, with social media growing as much as it has, if you continue to kind of live in that, bro, it is just going to eat at you. It's going to eat at. It's not even fun banter anymore. Like the fun banter was pre-social media. Now it's just 100% trolling. That's it.
Yeah, it's all bad. But that's all I had for you today, Sky, man. That's all I had, baby.
All right, man. Salute.
Peace.
Yes, sir. What's good, Marcus?
Hey, Sky, what's good with you, sir? Good morning.
I'm doing fantastic, my guy. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm safe and sound. I'm not outside of my. Just in case you didn't know, man, I'm a truck driver, so a lot of times I'm in some interesting locations.
That's why it sounded like you was in Area 51 and a bunch of. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't mind playing, having no fun with it. I just didn't want to put nothing in your mind by being, this brother out here on some of that creeping. But no, I'm all right, man. I'm just gonna be in some weird spots sometimes. What I try to do before I call in is get settled, but then I get so amped and so hyped, I just pick the phone up and all kind of stuff be going on.
It's all good, man.
Hey, man, look, I like the idea of keeping some running backs. I don't know if you keep 4. But I do like your suggestion that if Ronald Jones is done because of this suspension, I hope that opens the door for Hunter Lipke. If you're gonna keep running backs, you want to keep versatility. I hope I don't want to wish anything bad on who did you say Rico Dowdle, the guy. He kind of they like him, but they can't rely on him because he's hurt all the time. Well, hey, if you got to keep backs, man, you want to keep people that are versatile as much as you can, and I think that would open the door for Hunter Lipke to get on. And so I would like to see that. And Micah,
Let me stay there real quick. Stay there real quick with Hunter Lipke because he could definitely factor into this whole thing for two positions, tight end and running back. So I'm really, really curious to see how they're going to utilize him in preseason because he can either say, all right, look, with Schoonmaker dealing with this nagging injury, do you look to put him on IR? Right? Like if because when they asked Coach McCarthy about it, McCarthy was like, hey, yeah, I'm hopeful he can play in Oxnard. He can practice in Oxnard. But if he can't, I don't know if I'm going to risk a roster spot for him if he doesn't practice to the last week of preseason or something. They did that with Matt Waletzko. And then what happened? He went out there, got hurt, and went on IR. So let's say they decide to play that pup game or they play that IR game with Schoonmaker. Do you go 3 tight ends and then include Lipke as a guy and then just go 3 running backs? Or do you go 4 running backs and include Lipke in there? Like Lipke, I think, has some traits that are intriguing, and I'm intrigued. I would love to see them give him a shot. But then it becomes a battle of Lipke or Rico, Lipke or Davis, Lipke or McEwen, or Lipke or Stevens Jr., Lipke or Jalen Brooks, right? It's going to come down to that situation.
Yeah, and all that's part of roster building. And again, that's a good problem to have. So we'll see how that shakes out. Again, personally, I'm pulling for Lipke myself. So, and man, look, I think with Micah Parsons, man, we might need to adjust how we evaluate him. We need to stop being surprised by him doing it. We're seeing him do that to Tyron Smith, and we're thinking of Tyron Smith as Tyron Smith, and he is even that. Let's say Tyron's at 80%, 85% of what he was. We're thinking that's Tyron Smith. Yeah, I'm not surprised by anything Micah does. Micah gonna stack bodies up, yo. That's what he's gonna do.
I ain't never seen Tyron Smith in my life get bodied like that at practice. And some people who have been following the team for decades down there have said the same thing. They said, I've never seen that happen to him. Micah just different. Yeah. He's just different.
Micah is different. Exactly. That's why I said we have to adjust our expectations of what Micah is and what Micah can do. We can't be surprised by Micah doing that. Micah's gonna get body count. He gonna stack wood. That's all he's gonna do. We need to see we need to rate it by if whoever stonewalls Micah, we need to make sure that guy's on the team.
Well,
that's news. Anybody that blocks Micah, that should make the news.
somebody did that last year. Here we go. Somebody did that. I think it was Tyler Smith. I'm playing this play where he did this to Tyron Smith, man, and just unbelievable. This dude is crazy. Yeah. And I think this is all the work he's put in because I think, yes, he has the strength to just toss my guy like that, but I also think he saw, that Tyron was playing his upfield shoulder and just hit him with that McGlinchey club.
Right. He worked on that in the offseason. Micah did. He worked with the Wentworth guy, the famous tackle out there with LA. He worked with him. He's been doing a lot of things. Micah's about his business, so I'm not surprised. And quiet is kept. That's probably why Zach ain't in there because Zach ain't trying to have none of Miles neither. So they stop. Don't do that. Zach ready to pay that check because I know he done got somewhere told Tyler. See, Tyler, that's why. See, that's on tape. That's gonna be on tape. They ain't getting me like that. Hey, I'm gonna wait till I'm gonna sit this one out. Right. Them young boys mean business. And one more thing, man, about these moments. I never thought much of those mojo moments with Coach McCarthy. I like them. To me, man, I guess at the time it sounded kind of hokey because you had two different minds at work. You know what I mean? Two different agendas at work, and I don't think you can. It's important, and this will get to a larger point with me. I think it's important to get your team ready for those moments. It's how prepared you are for those moments. It's not the moments themselves. You can't wait for that moment to get there and then figure out what you're going to do. That's too late. You're already beaten. And that's where we were. So I get the mojo moment in that sense of, hey, look, this is, we need to get hyped for this. This is a big moment. This is a big play.
It's a pressure situation for that specific player or unit. Yeah.
Yeah, some of that. But again, I don't think the moment is the issue or has been the issue. I think it's been the preparation. I think it's been the approach.
Are you talking about the kicker, or are you just talking about in general?
Yeah, in general. I don't mean the focus. I'm not meaning the focus on a player per se. I mean for a team. And for me, this goes to going to Dak and hearing the young lady who was great, by the way, who was great.
Yeah, Jess was good.
Talk about Dak. If Dak was being Dak, Dak's been there from day one since he's been in the building. Taking Jalen Tolbert aside, taking the guys to the Dak yard. Working with everybody from Brandon Cooks, who's going to get the playing time, to the Jalen Brooks, who's UDFA out there fighting, making plays. Dak is that way. That's why Dak had no problem. We mad about Dak having to run out there with Noah Brown as a number 2, and Dak got no problem going to Noah Brown, right? Dak is built like that.
Yeah.
That's gonna, that's gonna, and that's what makes him a leader. And I just think it's been. You talked a lot about, Dak being, nerfed and handicapped in certain ways. It's hard for Dak to be himself when he's got to do things a certain way because that's the way, and again, in Dak's mind, he's a soldier. Dak's been coached to do things a certain way. And that's kind of, hey, look, I'm one of the 53. I'm one of the guys. And I do think, giving him more control over the offense and simplifying things will make those moments not stand out in the way that we kind of gotten used to, or saying that, well, this is a big moment. We'll get to where we will recognize that that will be the reason why we get through those moments, because of his connection with those guys, because of Dak's poise, Dak's confidence, and Dak's leadership. That's something you got to highlight, as well as whether or not Dak can make this out route, or whether or not Dak knows where to go, whether or not Dak knows football on the outside shoulders. That kind of stuff, you can work that technical stuff out. But the things that elevate things that people want to talk about, the things that make Dak special, you don't get to see that if you don't let Dak be that. So hopefully, with all of this stuff, being married, tied together, philosophy, players, technique, coaching, all that stuff will bring out the best in Dak. And we'll get to, all of us that know it, everybody else will get to see it. So, again, great show, Scott, man. Thank you for having me on. I'm going to try to make sure I'm in a, better spot whenever I call it. I don't like fighting with wind and stuff either when I'm calling it.
It's cool. Just roll your window up. All right, Marcus. Appreciate you, man.
All right, dude. All right.
Look, the intangibles absolutely matter, but I think the physical is grossly underrated with him. I think Pat Mahomes might have what's the word I'm looking for here? Steph Curry the league. Steph came in, everybody want to shoot threes a certain way, and that's what people think it should look like. No, Pat different. Pat built different. Guys like Josh Allen have a ridiculously strong arm. Accuracy is still weird. No one talks about that though, but crazy strong arm. Herbert, I think he's got the best of both worlds, but Pat's built different. But Dak Prescott can make all the damn, he makes them all. He's made them all. It's not about whether he can make the throw. He got a strong enough arm. He is accurate enough. Yes, there are a lot of people who are still buying this BS that he's not accurate enough. That's ridiculous. He is. He can do all of those things. It is about finishing. That's what blows my mind. When people, and I'm not trying to go on the Dak tangent, but when people do go on this Dak thing, right, and they say, oh, well, he's not accurate. Well, then you show him proof of accuracy in spades, and you show him statistics of accuracy and analytics of accuracy. They say, oh, well, he can't get it done in the playoffs. Well, that's a different conversation. That is a totally different conversation. He's been accurate enough to be a pretty damn good playoff quarterback. You're talking about San Fran is the only team he hasn't been really good at. He's been accurate enough to be a damn good, one of the best regular season quarterbacks. It is about finishing. That's it, man. Because you know what? No one would give a damn about the accuracy numbers or the big numbers or the picks and all that stuff if he finishes. I don't know why we're making this a big, I don't understand why we're trying to turn this into Dak Prescott sucks as a quarterback or he ain't that good. When everything says that he is, the thing that he has to get back to being really good at is finishing. It's that simple, bro. And if I ever got a chance to get on national media, they would be so mad at me because I'm not going to buy into all the other BS. I'll just say, oh, no, Dak has to finish. There's plenty of plays that show that he can do everything you're asking him to do, but he has to finish. And if he doesn't finish, then he won't be the quarterback of the Cowboys. It is not that difficult. Remove all emotion, whether you hate him or you like him. It comes down to that. I digress. Sadiqa, appreciate you for the super chat.
Super chat.
She dropped 50. She said, Will, first let me say I thank you for Ann. I thank you for, I'm just going to say, I thank you for doing what you're doing for the nation. New media is definitely here. I love all my Cowboys content creators. Thank you from my heart. No, thank you, Sadiqa. I appreciate that. I truly do. And I'll just read a couple more before I get back to the lines.
Super chat.
Chris dropped one. We don't wipe them 304s. 5. He says, some Cowboy fans would rather be Stephen A than a real fan. Even if you don't believe in Dak or other players, support them. You know, we don't wipe them 304s. I don't try to. This is one of the things I'm still working on. I try not to take that type of bait, but I'm still work in progress, man. I'm still work in progress. You're absolutely right. There are way too many of those type of fans that, and I shouldn't say way too many. It is a loud minority. Let me say that. It's a loud minority. You also drop one.
Super chat.
Said, I just want to say F Philly. Facts. All right, back into the lines. Like I said, I didn't want to go on a Dak tangent, but it just blows my mind, you know, because of social media and clicks and retweets and just hot takes and all the stuff that we got to go stoop to that damn level when it's simple, easy explanation here. Finish. That's it. We have 480. There's actually 2 Arizona numbers on here, both 480. I don't know if you're 2 different people, but we'll start with 480 number 1 first. Hello? What's good?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I got you, man. I got you.
Sky, hey man, I've called into Vacha's show many times, man. I go by John Q on there, man. We always do some funny quotes and stuff because he can't pronounce my last name, so he just always threw it as John Q, which I rolled with for a long time.
Got you, bro. I think I might have been on the show one time when you called in, so I think I know who you are.
Yeah, probably, man. I listen to your stuff all the time in the mornings. A lot of times I can't call in, so I appreciate you taking my call.
No problem. What you got for the show?
Yeah, man. I do live out here in Arizona, so I get my content, from everywhere. But and I actually have to go look for it, so it actually makes me more of a fan instead of just looking at like mainstream stuff. But I can't help but thinking that we should be doing something else with our the second round pick with Schoonmaker. I just can't help but thinking was that our stretch? Was that a reach? They had Drew Sanders on the board. We had lineman issues that we could have, gotten the guy from Florida. Just for me, and I know he hasn't practiced, I know, but to me, it just always seems like what are we missing? What are we missing? I don't think that we needed an upgrade, especially with these young guys, Ferguson, even McEwen. Our little young core group, I think we should have gave them an honest shot. Even draft 5th, 6th round dude to kind of fill in the 4th spot there. I think a second round was still it just irks me a little bit. I'm rooting for the guy, but we'll see how it plays out. What's your take on it so far?
I'm still not sold. I'm obviously, like you said, rooting for the guy, and prior to the whole injury situation, I was hoping that he can settle in at tight end 2 and compete for tight end 1, but I don't even know if I have a chance to even settle in at tight end 2 at this point. It was a frustrating pick then. I don't know if you watched the draft show or reaction to it. Again, man, I championed all offseason that you had your tight end 1 in Jake Ferguson, and he's out there performing well in training camp, picking up where he left off. So I didn't see the need to take one in the second round. If you wanted to take one, like you said, you could take one later. But second round picks, they have to get on the field and start. And if not, it's a wasted pick in all honesty. So
I agree.
He's not going to.
I agree.
I don't know how he plays and impacts your team year one. Tight ends already were tough to have impactful year one seasons, let alone guys like Luke Schoonmaker, who, yes, the numbers show that he was impressive from an athletic standpoint, but this isn't Kyle Pitts. You know what I'm saying? This isn't one of them type dudes where you send out there out wide and he's a wide receiver. No, he was brought in here because he can block really well and he can develop as a pass catcher where he was underutilized at Michigan. But if you can't get on the field and he's getting drafted knowing he has injury issues, I'm sorry that I'm not hyping up Luke Schoonmaker. I want Luke Schoonmaker to succeed.
Yeah.
I hope these injuries are behind him. But once I did the homework and I said, oh, wait a minute, he's been dealing with injuries like this for 4 or 5 straight years, and we still draft him in the second round. It's a bit perplexing. And I just hope that by this time next year, there's more excitement from Luke Schoonmaker. Because right now, yeah, it's a bit frustrating.
Yeah, and it's probably frustrating for him too, because he wants to get out there, especially training camp is big. You can get out there, learn a ton, get familiarity, get a chemistry going. I get it. But getting back down that, and I don't want to harp on being a bad fan or any toxic like that, but could have drafted whoever you want in the second. Darnell Washington was there in the third.
The hilarious thing about Darnell is apparently he was a red name on their board for injuries, but it's Luke Schoonmaker who's out with injuries, and Darnell Washington is practicing.
Ironic.
Fucking poetic justice.
Hey, I wanted to get on this too. It's exciting, honestly. Obviously, I think our defense is going to be top 3. It has a really good chance of being something special.
Yes,
it really does, and I'm excited about that. I think that they could. We've seen it in the past where offenses haven't been great, but the defenses have carried that team far into the postseason. So defense to me can travel, and I like that. I like that a lot, which makes me excited. But the offense, they're showing clips here and there. I'm really kind of. I guess the word I'm trying to use is indifferent on Turpin. I'm just indifferent on him. Is he fast? Yeah. Is he explosive? Yeah, he is. I don't know how he made the Pro Bowl, but
that was a shame.
He didn't have a touchdown last year. I think they forgot that all he did was had an amazing preseason game and hype that up and let that thing roll on for the rest of the year. He should have broke one in the playoffs. We all saw that, and he got tackled. But beyond that,
I think John Q.
I
the power of the star got him in there because he wasn't number one in return touchdowns. He wasn't number one in return yards or number one in average or anything like that in any one of those categories. But I think him being on the Cowboys, returning 2 touchdowns in the preseason, got him to the Pro Bowl. And hey, look, he can use that in negotiations, but I can give a damn about that.
Yeah.
Don't. I hate when they be like, but Turpin went to the Pro. I don't want to hear nothing about Turpin going to the Pro Bowl. That means nothing to me because he wasn't a pro. This is the thing we're doing on the show now. There's the Pro Bowl, right, where the fanfare and the hype and the glitz and glamour, but then there's Pro Bowl players. He was not a Pro Bowl player.
That's really it. That's what I wanted to say. Is hey, and CD even. I don't know if you heard that whole CD interview on 105. He was hyping up Turpin. They were like, hey, why isn't Turpin getting more on the field? And they're like, he's like, I don't know.
Well, that's a different conversation, Q. That's a different conversation.
Yeah, man.
Because I was asking for him to get on the field last year, bro. We didn't have enough explosive weapons, and I'm like, find a way to put the ball in his hands because he sticks. He can juke. He got quickness. He's fast. You don't have weapons. You got TP and Lamb. That's it. And you weren't using your explosive type, those guys. I'm sorry, you weren't using the other guy that you had in Turpin. So I did want to see him on the field. Now, maybe he wasn't grasping the playbook, John. Maybe he couldn't understand. Maybe Kellen Moore couldn't find ways to get him to rock. But now we're seeing him out there doing some slot things. And honestly, I welcome that. You don't need to be the size of CeeDee Lamb to do Cole Beasley things. So if he can do Cole Beasley things and you're getting 10 plays out of him doing that a game, and then maybe when they're sitting down on a whip route on the screen or something, then you send him on a deep crosser or on a 9 route. I want to see what that does. I want to see what that does. That's all I'm saying. I want to see it. Because if you're
I
not
think
going
you
to
and I
use
are
him
on the
that way,
exact
get
same
him off
page,
the
man.
field. If he ain't going to be used that way, get him off the field. That's all it is. I think he has the ability. I just don't want them to waste the opportunity of at least us seeing it. I digress.
All right. Thank you, man. You and I are on the same page. I'm rooting for him. Again, I'm a big fan of his. I want to see it, man. I want to see it because if you got all that hype and Kellen's out of the picture and you got the playbook down and you're getting more looks, I mean, it's all talk right now, and the talk's great.
Yeah.
But show me now. Show me something. Show me that you're a Pro Bowler because
I'm good. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm
good with that.
I'm a hold Mike McCarthy.
Earn it to me.
I'm a hold Mike McCarthy to his word. He said players over plays. You've got 5 players that we dubbed the explosives. You should be able to make some plays for them players. Should.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, man, I appreciate the call. I was just driving home. I was listening to you, and I was like, man, I haven't called in. Let me give him a call and go from there. So heading to work. And anyways, man, you guys have a good day. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Love hearing the content. Keep it up, man.
Thanks, John Q. Good stuff, man. Good call. Yeah, don't get it twisted, man. When the season was over, I was confused. I said Turp is a big question mark to me because I didn't understand his usage. I wanted him to be used. They didn't use him. And then I'm like, where does he fit now moving forward? This was prior to the draft. I mean, where does Turp fit? I don't even think we had Brandon Cooks yet. So I'm like, we need to get a receiver. We need to bring somebody in here. This room is not ready to just be comfortable. Then they go out and get a Brandon Cooks. That changes things now, right? Like Brandon Cooks adds not just depth to the wide receiver room by pushing players down on the depth chart, but it gives you now a legitimate 1-2 punch that can do a multitude of different things. But I still was like, well, all right, now if Turp is going to be on the team, he needs to contribute offensively. Let's see what happens. We get the OTAs. We're hearing, hey, man, Turp is doing some things from a receiver standpoint. Doesn't get a chance to get on the field early, had the baby or whatnot. Now he's back out there and he's doing wide receiver things. Again, that is a positive. You should be excited about it because there is something to Kevontae Turpin from a skill set. I'm not saying you need to give him the ball 7 times a game or target him 8 times a game. I don't see nothing wrong with trying to put the ball in his hands 2 to 3 times or at least use him as a decoy. Don't see nothing wrong with it because he has that type of ability to take it to the crib. Now it's going to be a matter of if we do it. If we don't, and he's not returning kicks to the crib or flipping field position without muffing the punts, it's a waste of a roster spot. But we're a long way from it being a waste of a roster spot. He wasn't a waste last year on his own. I think a lot of it had to do with Kellen and the game planning with him. So we're a long way from there. So Slim, you want to talk about Zach? Who's going to replace Zach? Ain't going to be Josh Ball. Toxic Tom said we should vote Josh Ball into the Pro Bowl just to troll. That, and he said that's the only weakness. It's crazy that you said that's the only weakness, but you shit on Jake Ferguson constantly. But hey, whatever. Zach Martin, the interior depth to me, I agree, is a weakness on this team. It's kind of why I've been advocating to go get a veteran guy off the street. We still got time. Y'all know what I said yesterday. If Zach Martin picks up that phone with Jerry Jones, I'm just saying 2 words: Josh Ball. Oh yeah, but we got Fournette. Oh, the dude who gave up 13 pressures in 3 games, 6 quarterback hits. All right, 4 words: Josh Ball, Matt Fournette. Clip. Not saying they're gonna cave or anything or it's gonna work, but I'm just saying those 2 dudes. Well, at least Josh Ball ain't it. I haven't heard anything about Fournette, so we'll see what's going on there. But I'm still of the belief: pick up that phone. Get on the horn. And see if there's a veteran guy out there that can come in here and solidify the interior depth. Because I ain't believing in it right now. Long way to go. So there was, like I said, 2 Arizona numbers on here. Not sure if it's 2 different people. 480. The other 480. What's good?
What's good, Scott? Hey.
Okay.
Thanks for taking the call.
No problem.
Hey, man. I think all the players that you guys were talking about up to this point, Turpin and Ball, all that's going to come out in the wash. I ain't too worried about that because you got some smart coaches that know what to do, especially on the defensive side. I see Dan Quinn being the next coach if all things go to hell in a handbasket this year, the Cowboys. So, but that's not what I want to talk about. I just wanted to chat with you and get your idea on this, what some folks are referencing as the Texas Coast offense. To me, and I've heard it from other bloggers and other streamers of Dallas Cowboys content, this is kind of like a combination West Coast offense where the Bill Walsh style of dipping and dunking, 10 to 15 plays in scoring, combined with something like Don Coryell, who typically likes to stretch the field. Not all the time, and this isn't definitive on both types of philosophies, if you will, where you stretch or you dip and dunk horizontally. Some were saying that even that hasn't been done successfully by a lot of teams or coaches because of the complexity. They're kind of like contradicting one another, West Coast versus a Don Coryell style of stretching the offense. But, for example, Sid Gilman, he was one of the first that was successfully able to do that.
I was about to say,
but I just wanted to get your take. Yeah, yes, it has been done. And we all know Montana as well as Rogers, they loved the West Coast and were very capable of executing that. But I just want to get your take. I know that Dak loves that type of an approach. He loves the fast movement. And now that he's going to have some of the playbook in his own hands to do as he sees appropriate at the line, I think that bodes well not only for the West Coast but also for Don Coryell's style. So I'm going to hold right there and get your take on that because I think philosophy matters when it comes to quarterbacks. And I think this aligns with it as opposed to what Kellen Moore was trying to do, did not align with Dak's best characteristics, traits, and capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good take on it because you do have Brian Schottenheimer, who doesn't come strictly from the West Coast. You know, he's been adapted to different systems, but specifically the Eric Coryell style. So when you hear about the offense, right, not changing much, the 30%, I think some of that 30% is horizontal routes, horizontal concepts. But if you listen to Schottenheimer's interview, press conference at camp, if you didn't, go check that out. We will still have vertical aspects to this game. You listen to CD Lamb, we're 100% going to be taking vertical shots. But I think within that, there's that saying we always bring up here, touchdown or check down. I think the very basis and foundation of this offense will be that. It will be, hey, look, we'll build a deep shot within the pass game concept on this play, but we're going to have horizontal movement underneath it. We're going to have easy outlets underneath it as opposed to a lot of static routes where we can get guys moving, catching, and get some yak. So I don't know how many offensive coordinators maybe combine things, but look, it's 2023. The West Coast offense isn't the West Coast offense of 1982. You know, so I think it's been tweaked. And I go look at a guy like Andy Reid. Andy Reid, for years, did not just run a standard West Coast offense. He tweaked it to where it was also vertical to it. He adapted to what? His players. So if Mike McCarthy can adapt that to his players, who is a players over play type of coach, and you bring in a guy like Brian Schottenheimer, who, if you go look at his Seattle Seahawks concepts, it was a lot of open, deep shots down, one-on-ones with guys like Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf due to the scheme, due to the concept. So it may sound challenging, right? But I actually welcome it. I welcome a guy like McCarthy who can bring his West Coast principles and a guy like Schottenheimer who can say, hey, man, these concepts were fantastic getting shots down the field. If we can combine that too, we can make it work. And I think they were doing that. McCarthy and Schottenheimer said it's been a lot of work. This was months ago when McCarthy talked about it. We've been working our ass off night and day to install an offense that is digestible for these guys and that is good, that is aggressive, attacking, and vertical. So that's why I said yesterday, I'm excited to see them full go. We saw a whip route with a sluggo. What's your name, sir? I'm sorry.
Richard.
We saw a whip route with a sluggo, Richard.
Yep.
How many times did you see that last year?
Hardly any, if any.
Okay, so there's the vertical, right? And then there's the horizontal. There's the underneath, getting the ball to a guy on the move or getting it deep. I feel like there's going to be a combination that actually works for these guys because there's not going to be a whole bunch of thinking mid-route of option routes. Mike McCarthy was not lying when he said, I have never been a part of an offense that was this aggressive across the board with option routes for the receivers. I usually have that designed for one player, maybe two. They have that connection with the quarterback. But everybody doing that is too much thinking, man.
And to that end, let's go back a few years when Zim was coaching the defense before DQ got there. It was too complex. It was too complicated. They switched it up from 3-4-4-3. I can't recall what.
Oh, you're talking about Nolan?
You remember that? Yeah, Nolan. I'm sorry. Yeah, Nolan.
Yeah.
Not Zim.
Mike Nolan.
It was too complicated, too jacked up.
Yeah.
And when they switched it back, Quinn got there, everyone had a sigh of relief, right? What did he do? Simplified it.
Yep.
And the same thing's going on with the offense now. You're hearing all this. Oh, it's much easier now. You hear, I know which route. I know my second option. I know my third option. You hear all the boys saying sigh of relief. Why? Because it's much simpler for them to grasp so that they can go faster. Well, that bodes well on the offense now. You got the defense with Dan Quinn hitting on all cylinders. Now with the offense, even if the offense produces 15% more, how much more powerful are they going to be?
Right. And I think you're seeing that happen with the young guys. Jalen Tolbert taking that next mental step because it's not as difficult to grasp. Simi Fehoko, Jalen Brooks, Jalen Moreno-Cropper. We weren't hearing a whole bunch of young guys. It was Dennis Houston, y'all. It was Dennis Houston because he was just, hey, man, he's catching the ball. No other young guy was just eye-popping last year. But you're seeing Jalen Moreno-Cropper make plays, Jalen Brooks make plays, Tolbert taking the next step, Simi continue to be, a solid camp guy, which he's been, which we know he got to obviously put that on the field in the regular season. But I want to see what happens when we get to the preseason, right? Because the last couple of years, one thing that's been a problem for the Cowboys, if you remember this, Richard, maybe it's the scheme combined with the quarterbacks, but Cooper Rush, Gilbert, who was the other one? Greer. We could hardly get a sense of what these guys are like because, A, they weren't getting the ball to them. The quarterbacks just weren't performing well in the preseason. And I think maybe it might be a little bit easier to get a sense of what they can do because the offense or the route combinations will be easier for these wide receivers to grasp. So I'm interested to see these guys when these pads come on against Jacksonville in a couple weeks.
I'm right there with you. These three preseason games that we have, I hope they do get an abundance of opportunity to ferret out not only a subset of the offense, but the simplicity of it to see that the quarterback is connecting with the wide receivers and the running backs are able to make some grounds. I just felt that last year's and previous year's offenses were just you'd go and do a dip or a dunk, and it would go nowhere. Consistently go nowhere.
Because it was static.
That's because they weren't fooling anyone. It was static. They weren't fooling anyone, nor did people understand what their position was and what they were supposed to be doing. So I hope all of that, hopefully this year, at least by the first three games, gets behind us. And we can move on to being a successfully productive offensive unit.
And finish because I didn't like how it operated towards the end. But the thing I always said about this style of offense, even with Jason Garrett and Scott Linehan, I think it's an offense that is highly, highly predicated on having its horses, right? Like if you got an Amari Cooper in 2019, you had Amari Cooper and a healthy Michael Gallup. Yeah, you can get some downfield shots. You can have those guys make plays for you one-on-one because you got those type of dudes. In 2020, when you got Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, yeah, they gonna make your offense look better just based off their talent. But how many times have I said over the years, what happens when you get matched talent-wise? What happens when you get matched from a coaching standpoint? Can you out-scheme them? Can your scheme out-scheme them? Can you out-coach them? And I just never had that belief based off the 4 years of evidence or 3 years going into last year that I saw. And then when you take away an Amari Cooper And you're telling me we going into week 1 with Dennis Houston? Excuse me, sir. I'm supposed to believe that's going to work. No. So
that was scaring no one.
Right. Now
that was
you got
no one.
Now you got the talent that you replaced on top of what you hope is a scheme that, look, man, if something happens to one of these guys, they should be able to plug and play. Go look at, and I know everybody's going to say the bad man Aaron Rodgers, but go look at how many wide receivers went in and out of that Green Bay Packers system and were highly productive.
Last year, right? He had no one.
Well, I'm talking about under McCarthy. Under McCarthy.
Under McCarthy. Okay, yeah, I'll go back and check him out too.
Oh, Greg
yeah,
Jennings.
That's the system.
A lot of them is what I'm getting at. A lot of them have come in and out of that system and been highly, highly productive. And not just that system, but West Coast or variations of it, because it is something that's supposed to be easy for the quarterback and wide receiver. Hey, Richard, fantastic conversation, bro. I could sit here and talk nuances in football with you all day. Appreciate you, man.
Likewise. Thank you very much. Appreciate you too. Bye.
Salute. Man, good call there. I love talking about the O. And again, it's just obviously all talk until we see them get on the field and do it. And hell, there might be growing pains. There may not be due to McCarthy being here, but I don't know. I just have this gut feeling about it being more efficient and finishing better. That's really where it is to me. You got Ford and you got these weapons. They're going to put up the numbers regardless, right? But I feel like it'll be more efficient and it'll finish better. We ain't cut out, did we? Just saw my computer do something crazy. I think this might be Jazz, a.k.a. Lethal on the horn. Is this who that is?
No, this is Malcolm.
It's not, my bad. I saw the name pop up here. I thought it was her. What's good, Malcolm?
What's happening, guy? It's been a while since I called into the show. Working, school, and everything. I haven't been able to catch a lot of shows lately, but I'm on my lunch break, so I just wanted to call in real quick and talk about. I see you talking about the offense today, and I just wanted to talk about how encouraged I am by what I've seen so far and like camp highlights and everything from the offense. Because I felt like going into camp that I felt like we would be able to get a idea of how the offense, the changes in the offense and everything, just based off of how they performed against, Dan Quinn's defense in practice and everything. The last year, Dan Quinn, he used to kick Kellen Moore's butt every day in practice and camp. So just seeing, us having some like early success in camp against the defense, that's, like I said, I just felt like that's pretty encouraging going forward. And, so being able to build off of that and hopefully get Zach Martin back in here so Josh Ball can go pick up a clipboard and put on a polo.
Yeah, we need to get Zach up. And look, I don't think Zach's going to miss any games. Eventually, this will come to a resolution. Either they're going to extend him or Zach will report. I don't see it like him missing games. But as long as he's out there, continue to remain healthy, stay in shape, and we know he'll be back here. Because he did say I'll be back soon, so maybe that's a hint that he'll be returning at some point. But Josh Ball ain't it. So, yeah, we need to get him back.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm liking what I'm seeing from the young receivers, too. Like, it seems like all the guys named Jalen, it seems like all of them have been, like, making plays.
Facts. So. Cropper, Brooks, Tolbert, all the I didn't even realize we had that many Jalens until Jalen Brooks started, showing out down there in camp. I'm like, damn, we got a bunch of Jalens. But yeah, man, I said this to Jess. The the kind of down roster battle, 4 through 6 or 7, it is competitive, man. And that's what I love to hear. I'm all about these dudes out there competing and winning the spot because they're better, not because somebody got hurt or because of politics.
Right. Yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing. It's been really competitive so far. The defense, they're gonna be who they are. Micah, he's just insane out there. He looks like he can line up and get like 2 sacks in a game right now. But,
yeah. Micah's best defensive player in the league, though. I don't know what else to say about him, bro. Like I don't know what else to say. This guy has MVP potential for defenders, and that's hard to do in a league that favors the quarterback and has a guy by the name of Patrick Mahomes in it.
Right. And I feel like he's essentially like, we had guys when I worked at I used to work in athletics up in Hampton, Virginia. We had guys, every so often come through and they were like, like we called them like the heartbeat of the team. It was like guys that like, everybody like looked like drew that energy from that guy. And I feel like that's how Micah is for this team. He's like the heartbeat. Like he's gonna wheel these guys as far as he can take them. And it's like, just jump on my back.
I agree. He said, I'm taking y'all deep in the waters. You better be able to swim. Hey, man, appreciate the call. I'm going to get to this last one, and we're going to head out of here. We in OT, big time.
All right, peace, man.
Yes, sir. Salute. Last call of the day, we got
The conference
Chris
has been locked.
from Alaska.
Yo.
What's good, Chris?
I'm doing all right, man. I just want to talk about a couple of things about this offense and Dak. One thing I really like about what Mike McCarthy's been saying is like him saying he's going to let Dak take control of the offense. And the thing is he did the thing with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, but Aaron Rodgers took advantage of it, if you know what I mean, because that was part of the reason why he left, is because he kept audibling too much, you know what I mean? Even though he was like.
So I think, brother, what happened there in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers outgrew McCarthy. It got to a point where A-Rod outgrew him, and it needed to change. 13 years in one spot, it's going to happen. He even admitted that, he got stale, and that's why he took that year off to try to understand the league again or what have you. So I think there's two sides to it. Aaron Rodgers was still a POS, right? Like he wasn't an easy person to work with. I mean, look, him and LaFleur were having issues. So it wasn't all McCarthy, but there is some fault to McCarthy.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say is, like, with all the hate Dak gets, it just comes with being a Cowboy, obviously. But I think the worst Cowboys fan that I hate are the ones that don't like Dak yet, like, love Romo and think that Romo was way better. I'm not saying Romo was bad by any means, but I just hate when they say, like, Romo was way better than Dak. Yeah, when you can look, they have the exact same playoff record, and if you look at stats while they're in the playoffs, Dak's a way better playoff quarterback in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And it just frustrates me because my best friend is a big Tony Romo guy, and he hates Dak. Like I can explain to him why Dak is a good
so
quarterback.
Asinine to me, bro. How can you love that one and hate the other one?
Yeah, that's what I tell him. He's like, and every time I try to talk to him, he just gets mad. He's like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, he just gets mad.
Look, everybody got their guy, okay? Everybody has their guy.
Yeah, I have no problem with
I
that.
get that.
But it just makes no sense how you're going to love Romo so much but hate Dak.
Here's what we need.
Because all he says is Dak's ass, this and that. Like, it's just annoying. I can't even talk football with him, and we're a fan of the same team.
Cannot talk football with those people because they don't care. And what sucks is if he does get it done, like you can't enjoy that with us. Because
that's why I told him, like,
like,
if Dak goes out and wins the Super Bowl for us, I don't want to hear you saying I was always riding with Dak. Like,
no, there's one thing to have skepticism about a player, right? There's one thing to say, hey man, I don't think he, I'm skeptical on this, or I'm doubting this, or I need him to do better. But there's another thing to completely say this mother effer sucks when obviously he doesn't. And then when he does win games, you're nowhere to be found. You're quiet. Celebrate with it because you can't, because you know why? You're secretly rooting for him to suck so you can revel in that negativity and miserable aspect of your life so that you can say, see, he sucks. But when he doesn't, you're absent. You're quiet. You're gone.
Exactly.
You're scattered lights come on like a roach. I think that's whack to me. Because those who support the quarterback, hold on, Chris. Those who support the quarterback, we ain't going nowhere. If he plays well, we here. If he doesn't, we here because we got to fight y'all off that hate the guy so damn much. But the thing about the Romo and Dak thing, we need a damn win. This is why we need a win. Why on God's green earth are we still talking about a quarterback who hasn't played a real season in almost 10 years?
Exactly.
What other
Yeah,
organization
my friends would just
is
come
talking
out-
about their quarterback from a decade ago?
Yeah. And I love Romo, even though I didn't get to watch a lot of them, because I didn't start watching football until about 2014. But, like, I liked Romo. If he was more of like I'm skeptical, I want him to show more, I don't mind that. It's just the saying that he's so bad and this and that.
It's the same thing with Tony. Like, it's literally the same thing. These dudes are talented quarterbacks that didn't finish. Now, one story is written, it's over, books closed. The other story is still being written on the team you supposedly love. And this is why I hate social media. Not hate it, but this is why social media is weird nowadays. Because I didn't know these type of people existed. Because the fans that I was around, it wasn't about just cheering on players just because they're on your team. But it was about cheering for the team because those players were on your team. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not cheering an individual person, but I'm cheering for this damn team. So when they do good, we're going to celebrate that. If they do bad, we're going to talk about that and figure the hell out what we got to do to get better. But I swear for goodness, if the Cowboys get this thing done, I used to say I'm going to lose friends. I ain't going to lose friends. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to lose subscribers and followers because all of y'all that really secretly want this team to fail because of the guy that's leading the team, listen, I'm going to have to turn the monetization off. Take all the kids out the room. Cover your ears because I'm going to hell off on y'all specifically.
Yeah.
I digress. I'm getting a little.
We go off and win a Super Bowl. Like I'm just gonna yell at my grand and be like, "Where are you now? Like you shouldn't even be able to celebrate this Super Bowl because you hate Dak
stay in the corner because you ain't really rooting for us. You're rooting to be right. So stay over there.
I always tell them if you hate Dak so much, go root for another team. Like, it's clear as day. Just do that. You know, there's no point in hating on a player.
You're right,
Chris. That has been giving us good winnings and no losing seasons. Like, it makes no sense.
Look, context don't matter to these fools. It does not matter, Chris. And all I'm going to do is keep getting fired up about it. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up, Chris. I appreciate you, big dog.
All right, man. Great show, man.
Salute.
Bye.
Them is facts. I used to want to call all these people out, but it's social media, man. It's way too many. I'm not fighting that no more. I've spent so many years, the Romo years, and then most of the Dak years. Like, bro, y'all really think that's the only reason why this ain't getting done in 30 years? Get out your mind. But okay, if and when it happens, you better hide. You better run. You better hide. What did my man say on Iron Man 3? Go get your barking dog. Go get your president. Go get whatever you want, Mr. President, because I'm coming. All right? And the beautiful thing about it, if it doesn't happen, I'm always here. But y'all be gone. You know why? Because you can't celebrate with us. And I'm just talking about when we're going through the week by week, when we win. And as fans, because if you're a real fan, you're celebrating this dub, man. You hype. You going into work. You talking trash. You're feeling good. A Cowboys dub, going into work is a whole different feeling. Vosh like to say the water tastes different. Because it does. But it's probably sour to you. Another thing I find funny that I saw from one of those fans, one of them said, you know what? I don't even care about the interceptions as long as he wins. Lies! How many times did we win last year? And he threw interceptions and y'all came on here and said, I don't care. Dak sucked. I didn't want to do this. I don't even like this conversation. Because it ain't really football talk. All emotions. And I'll leave it at that, man. Iceberg said Kincaid would be insane. He said Kincaid in this offense would have been Illmatic insane. Look, man, Kincaid. Look, I said this to you during the draft, Iceberg. I don't know. What is it? What is it with you? And Kincaid's a good player. If Kincaid was on this team, he'd be a good player. I never disputed that. I don't give a damn. I'm not taking the tight end in the first round. I didn't want to take a tight end in the second round. I feel good about our group. I feel good about I'm not worried about my offense because of the tight end. You got plenty of weapons to work with here. Personally, I feel about it. If Kincaid was here, would have been fantastic. If Bijan Robin was here, would be fantastic. If Darnell was here, would be. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of players like that, bro. The draft was 4 months ago. What are we talking about Kincaid being here for? We got multiple training camp practices, and you worried about Dalton Kincaid? You want to be right. Forgot who I was dealing with. All right. Did I get to all the super chats? I believe I did. I don't like to have these type of shows because these type of shows is for the ESPNs of the world where Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, this guy sucks, Tony Romo. That's whack, man. I try to have shows where we have thought-provoking engagement. Real quality conversations. So I apologize for those that came here for that. And y'all had that rant for the last 20 minutes. Let me see. I did not get them all. There was a bunch of y'all came through, low key. All right.
Super chat.
Appreciate you. John Phelps dropped 5, said, Cowboys rule everything around me. Cream. Dollar bill. Get that trophy. Dollar bill, y'all. Facts, John. Appreciate you.
Super chat.
Never pull out Shaq. Sky going to be wearing the new Black Forces on ESPN. I don't even look, man. I used to want to be on ESPN when I was a buck. But now that I understand it, I wouldn't be able to speak what I want to talk about on those shows. Because that's not what they want. They want back and forth. They want you to fight about. They want to insult your intelligence, essentially. Some of them shows though is smooth, but some of them. Black Line.
Super chat.
He dropped one, said Micah looked like LT tossing Lomas Brown in the 90s. Yo, Micah is different, man. Somebody said if Micah was the best player, he'd have a defensive player of the year. I'd argue you could add one already, but it is what it is. And then Tyrone Melton.
Super chat.
He dropped one and said, at the new job, can't call in for a while until I'm out of training. Oh, good luck, brother. And congratulations on the new job. Just showing love. How are you feeling mentally, spiritually, and physically, bro? Man, I'm going to tell you guys one day, but I am feeling fantastic on all of those accounts. Working on the physical, back in the gym and stretching and whatnot, man. The older you get, the more important it is to stretch. I'm learning that. But really great news personally that soon I will share with you guys, man. So that's pretty cool. And I digress, man. Oh, you good, Iceberg? Getting Mozzie was better? Why are we talking about Kincaid? Yeah. Look, I welcome it. Just because I put together, this type of show does not mean I won't go into that bag, Shaq. Does not mean I won't go into it. But good stuff today, y'all. We in super overtime, about to hit 11 o'clock. Somebody complained about the shows being long the other day. They not complaining. We still have 600 something people up here. So obviously we must be doing something right. Yes, we will not have 2 hour, 3 hour shows all the time. But man, it's pad week. It's Cowboys training camp. There's so much to talk about. We get fantastic guests on here. We get engaging, fans in the chat. Even if I don't agree with them, we still talking in here. We get the phone calls. Everybody seems to like it, so we're going to keep rocking, y'all. Tomorrow, another big show. Make sure y'all come through. Later, we back on the volume. Vosh and Barty Live. Make sure y'all come through. And then tonight, Mo will be on. Make sure y'all come through. Hit up A2ZSportsDallas.com too. All of our writers are continuing to hold it down there as well. I need a drink. Appreciate y'all, man. Real ones for sure, TC915. Sure. Can't get, you're right. That's why I don't listen to them on the big networks. Get your realness here with the creators, man. We're rap. Be out there. Love you.
Let me talk to you.